Hello and welcome to the Whispers of Hope show. I'm your host, Alice White, and today we want to welcome Joann and Steve Wittler, the founders of a wonderful program called Mother to Many. Joann and Steven will tell us about Mother to Many and share some of their very touching stories. Thank you for joining us today. So Joann, welcome to our show, and Steven, welcome to our show. There's so many questions that I have, and I know you have all the answers, but I'm not going to ask all those questions. I'm just going to let you speak from your heart. Exactly what is this Mother to Many? I love the title. It's so interesting. Could you tell me a little bit about it and maybe how you got your start?
Well, it started in January of 2013 when, after a 40-day fast, God just said,
interesting.
Because, you know, I think whenever God has something for us,
Yes.
He just really kind of starts birthing it into
Yes.
us. And I wanted to hear what He had to say. So did the 40-day fast, took out sweets, and just said, okay, no sweets. I want to hear you, God. I want to hear clearly, and I want to know it's from you. And that's when He said, pretty much, He goes, Joann, you're going to be the mother to many. So that's where the name came from. And then I thought, okay, what does that mean? So waited another week, because, you know, God doesn't all give us things all at once.
No, He doesn't.
And so then within a week, then it was homeless teens. And so there, God started just kind of developing it, started to teach us, and really just kind of just birth something and let it become an infant, and just took it from there. And He, you know, we went from learning more about homelessness and trying to understand. There really isn't anything out there for youth. So that was something that really touched me, to let me know this is why God put us out there, because our youth seem to be forgotten. And by going, and so people always want to know why skate parks. Because that's where you're going to find your hurting, your lost, your youth that feel unloved. Skate parks, the youth are kind of their own little families.
Right.
And they protect each other. They all have the same interest. And they just need to know that they matter. And so that's why we started with skate parks.
That someone cares. So
Yeah.
what do you do when you first started with this? What did you do? Did you just go out there and start talking to them, or did you take something to them?
So when we first started, we were trying to find a way to go and reach youth. So
Okay.
before the skate parks became, and we talked to a lady that works with homeless adults,
Okay.
and she says, you know, skate parks are a good place to go.
Okay.
And she says, just go, maybe have some music, have some granola bars, some drinks.
Okay.
So we thought, okay, let's try Sumner Skate Park. Let's go down, put up a table just like this, put hot
Nice.
chocolate, granola bars, hats, scarves, and then what we did is we had homeless backpacks for any homeless that would come up that has non-perishable items in there for them. And that's how we started. And with 15 youth, our very first time at Sumner Skate Park.
15 showed
15.
up. Oh my
15
goodness.
showed up.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so from there, God just started, boom.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So you go to different skate parks now, I understand.
Yeah,
And-
Sumner is our main skate park because it's right by an elementary school.
Okay.
And it's right by an apartment complex.
Okay.
So that's pretty much our main park. So we go there twice a week. We have a summer schedule and we have a school schedule. So during the summer, we go to Puyallup Skate Park, we go to Sumner Skate Park, we go to Allen York and Bonnie Lake,
Okay.
we go to Buckley Skate Park, we go to Enumclaw Library, and the one reason we go to the library is because they have a group of homeless people that come to the library, and so that way
they
we're
do.
able to feed the homeless community there.
Oh my goodness.
Ording has a youth center called The Haven. We go there.
Okay.
So once a week we take a bunch of sandwiches and snacks and everything. So when the kids come there, they can eat. And then we go to the Roy Community Center. We go to Yelm, and we went to Rainier.
Oh my goodness. So you do this once
And
a
Eatonville,
week, or do you have, what does your schedule look
So
like?
pretty
say?
much all those are once a week, and Eatonville is also in there. But we go to all the parks once a week, and then during the summer, some of those parks stop, and then we just do Sumner Skate Park. We do that twice a week. So and then Buckley Youth Center is continued, the Ording is continued, and Roy, Yelm, and Eatonville, we do their after-school program.
Okay, so do you have a regular schedule? If someone were watching today and they're interested and they say, well, hey, I live in Buckley or I live in Roy, how would they find out about your program so that they could go and maybe participate or get help?
Always on my Facebook page, which is Mother to Many Skatepark Outreach.
Okay.
Every week I put where we're at.
Oh, you do?
And then
Okay.
I go on to, like, Sumner has a neighborhood watch page, and Roy does, and Eatonville does. So I always put something up so that people can find us, especially families. A lot of times they might need a little bit, and so they're able to find us.
So do people participate in, let's say, this sounds like a pretty big outreach. How many per se kids do you reach in a week?
So we feed over 500.
500?
Yeah.
In 1 week?
In 1 week.
So that's 2,000, at least 2,000, maybe 2,500 in a month.
Yeah. It could be, yeah.
That is
really grown.
amazing.
Yeah.
And so do you get support? Do you have anyone that, say, donates products or, food, or what does that look like for you? Do you have a website that people can help? Or
Yeah, we have a website, www.mothertomany.org is our website.
Okay.
But Puyallup Food Bank is a big supporter of us. They help us with donations. We have independent, just people that will read on our posts, because on Facebook I always try to say, hey, we're running low on this.
Oh, you do?
And so we need this, and people will stop by the parks and drop off a cup of noodles or
they do.
granola bars or juice or water. So we have the community. It's kind of nice by putting that up, because there's people that can't volunteer, so they're able to come and bring things, and that's their way of helping us. And so that's a huge, because we feed a lot of people. And we want to make sure that when they leave, so when we're at the skate parks, they take grocery sacks, and they're able to go through the line, get one of each item, and which is a lot of things that they can take. And we want them to be able to have a meal. And make
So
sure
they go through this line and they get one of each of whatever is, and I've actually seen it. I actually got to see that, and it was pretty amazing. And they can take that bag home with them, so they're not just coming there and getting something to eat, which is great, but they actually get to take a bag home with them.
Yes, they get to take any extras home. And then
that's huge.
When we're getting ready to leave, if we have extras, they all know they can come back and get more. So that's always there, open to them, to let them know that, hey, that you can come and get those things. And
so what you're doing is love in action.
yes.
You're not preaching to these people, these kids. You're not saying anything. You're just letting your light shine. I think that's beautiful. And so they're getting their needs met. It's like the Bible says, basically, we're known by the fruits of our hands or the fruits of our lips. And that, to me, that's love in action. And there's a saying, I probably say this on every show, that people don't really care about what you know.
Exactly.
Until they know about how much you care.
Exactly.
And when you're shining your light, I believe that, lighthouses don't blow horns, that they shine, and that's what you're doing. You're letting that love of God flow through you, and you're not just sitting talking about it. You're actually out there, not in just your community. You're out in all the surrounding communities, and you're just one person that took that to heart. So I can imagine that if everyone got that vision, that they could do something. You're just one person, but you could do something. So say, if I'm out there and I'm viewing and I say, I would really like to do something like that, would you mind just viewing with our audience today, and just let them know if there is what they could do to maybe participate or be a part of something like the Mother to Many?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, wherever you live, if there's a park or if there's a skate park, and you just go, well, how can I help these kids? We started with a card table. We started with granola bars. We started with hot chocolate. We always get permission, though, before we go into any of the parks. So we want the city to be on board with this. So we get permission. And so just start. Let them start coming to see you. Start building relationships, because that's what it's all about. The main thing is don't be afraid, because if you're doing something God has called you to do, God will be there for you in every single way. And so that's the one thing, a lot of times we don't do things because we're afraid, and because we're thinking, gosh, does God really want me to do this? Well, first of all, we know that fear isn't from God. So we really want to go forward and just make sure that we do. We want to be God's hands and feet. And like when Alice said about, you don't preach to the kids. No, we don't preach to them, because we have to remember how it was when we were youth. If somebody would have been preaching to us when we were younger, we probably would have ran the other direction.
You're right.
So this way, we go there, we love them where they're at. There's no judgment. We help whoever comes to see us, and we love them, and we build relationships, just like what Jesus would do. And so we want to do what he would do. Do unto me as whatever you do unto me, you do unto the least of these, you do unto me. So that's very important, and I know I messed that up, but Matthew 25, 35 through 40, those verses are our verses because we want to do what God has called us to do. Yeah.
Beautiful, very well put. Thank you so much. And so a person like myself, I could take just a little card table, and I'm not going to have people coming up to me thinking that I'm out there being weird or something, right? And just be able to pass out food. So say pretty much, does it have to be like in a package? Is it supposed to be like a container, something? I'm sure you wouldn't be able to just... Can you offer sandwiches to these kids?
Yeah, you can offer sandwiches too.
Okay.
You can, and you do want to make sure that you tell them, like if you make peanut butter and jelly, you want to make sure you tell them because there are the peanut allergies. That's why we try to make sure that we have optional things for them. So like with the granola bars or fruit cups, anything that might not have. And of course, we had a sign when we first started. We did have Mother to Many, and we put free coffee, I believe, or free drinks. I can't remember. It's been over 5 years, so I'm trying to remember what that sign looks like. But anyway, so we made sure that they knew, okay, this is what we're doing. And of course, you know, I go up and I tell the kids, come on, you want something to eat or something? And they look at you kind of weird. But it's kind of cool because once you start building those relationships with the kids, you have kids that start telling their friends, oh, they're okay. Come on over. They, you know, they're not going to hurt you. We stay at the table. We don't walk away with any of the kids. We always want them to know that this is a safe place.
This is safe.
And but yeah, have a sign. And then too, when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's important. You can always reach out to other people. God taught Steve and I everything when it came to what we were doing, and just took us out. And so we just try to make sure that what we do is always safe for the youth, and then also to make sure that they know, like I said, that this is a safe place to be able to go to.
So this could be a husband-wife venture as well, or if the husband doesn't go, he could be home praying, right?
Yeah.
That's an important part, a very important part.
Steve is very important because a lot of our skaters, they might not have good relationships with their dads.
This is
and
true.
It's important to have men help you.
You have him right there.
Yes.
That is so true.
It's important to have men because they need to see positive men role models. And, you know, so even with our volunteers, we have men and women. So, and they're all interactive with the kids. And that's very, very important. But, you know, too, if people want to start skate park outreaches, hey, you can always email me, and I'd love to help people get things started because we want to see this not just be here, we'd like to see it all over.
Okay, so we'll put your email up today so that people can get a hold of you.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. And if they have any questions on maybe how to start or how to participate, then they can get a hold of you and you'll get back to them.
Yep.
So if you're in one of these skate parks and someone sees your vehicle, your truck, and it says Mother to Many on it, then they can just come up and talk with you. And now that they know who you are too. But as well as that, you're a pretty popular lady because I understand you were on Q13 not too long ago. Do you want to tell us a little bit how that came about? And
well, there again, building relationships. So we had a lot of people that contacted Q13 when they were doing their special about different communities.
Oh, awesome.
So we had people in the community that said, hey, you have to get a hold of her because of what she's doing. And just like with your sister talking to you, because she saw that. And so that's the cool part. But there again, you're building relationships. So we've been in Sumner for 5 years. Okay. So we've already been told by Assistant Chief Engel that we can never leave. So because they love us being there. And so we built good relationships with
and that's
even
what
them.
it's about. That is what it's about.
So anyway, so so they wanted to do Alan York, and so they came up, and thank goodness it was a decent day, and we had lots of kids, so they were able to interview us and
Oh, nice.
talk to some of the youth that we have been coming to see us at Alan York, because we've been there. It's for 4 years this
4
summer.
years. That's a long time.
Yeah,
That's a
so
long time.
Building good relationships with those.
Wow.
So it's always nice when you hear the stories
Yes.
from the youth that we serve.
Right.
When they come up and they say, hey, these people are amazing. And I'm not trying to boast, but just to hear them say, we love what she does and
Absolutely.
her team. And
Absolutely.
we have an amazing team.
Absolutely. My sister Karen lives in Bonnie Lake, and I don't see her that often, and she was up visiting me. And she had mentioned to me about this really amazing lady. She didn't have a name. She didn't have a name of the program. She says, if you could get her to be a guest on your show, I think it would be really great, because she had seen you on Q13. And so it was in my heart. I said, well, I guess I'll find her somewhere in her truck somewhere at one of these parks. But the good Lord helped me to get in contact with you. And I'm so very happy to have you on the program. And maybe in the future we could have you back, and we could, go over some more of the neat things that I really feel is a beautiful thing that God's doing. It's through you, and you're just one person. That's what is amazing to me. You didn't sit with an organization of 50 people that said, okay, let's take a vote on this. This is what maybe we can do or can't do. You just said, you took heed to that beautiful Spirit of God that spoke into your heart and birthed that in you. And I just say thank you, Lord, that you listened, because if you can imagine all of the literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of beautiful, amazing seeds of love that you've planted in each and every heart. And I think that that's a ministry so it's so vast that I can't even speak about it, so I'm going to be quiet right there. I think it's great.
Well, it's cool because God has told us we're seed planters.
See?
So pretty
There you
much
are.
that's what we're supposed to do. And one of the things too, I'm sure people are wondering, you said when God told me homeless teens, and God doesn't reveal everything to you right away. It's all in pieces, because he never wants to overwhelm us.
Right, and this is
so
true.
that's the one
That is
thing.
true.
But one day I was driving to Buckley, and I was all by myself, and I just kind of went, homeless teens, Lord. Okay, I know I help some, but I know they're not all homeless.
No.
And he goes, Joann, just because they have a home does not mean they're not homeless. And those
Oh,
are
my
the kids that we are
goodness.
reaching.
Can you say that just one more time?
Okay, just because they have a home does not mean that they're not homeless. So they go home to no food. They go home to no parents sometimes. When we went to Alan York that day, there was a young kid that came up, and he goes, I'm so glad you're here today, because all I had at home was a cup of noodle. And
my
and
goodness.
that's the one thing that just touches your heart.
Yes.
It makes you sad, but you're so glad that you're there so that he
Right,
can eat.
right.
And then even in another incident, this is one story that came to mind as I was driving, because I was wondering, Lord, what do you want me to share?
Right.
But Steve and I also did a bread ministry. And one of the things, we were waiting for one of our people to come pick up bread. And so we had the trailer. I always have water and granola bars. And a young man goes walking through the parking lot there at Sumner. It was like
Okay.
90 degrees, so it was hot.
Okay.
So I asked him, I said, hey, would you like some water? And he says, sure. So as I'm getting him the water, he goes, I just want you to know that you are making a difference here. And I says, you know what? There's times that I wonder if we are. He says, no, you are making a difference. So if you ever wonder if God sends angels,
Yes.
he sent an angel, because I have never ever seen that young man again. I never seen him before. I never seen him after. So as he's
Beautiful.
walking away, I looked at him and I said, I think you're an angel. He turns around and just smiles at me and walks away. I've never ever seen him again.
Not seen him again.
But God just knew I needed that encouragement
word
to
of
say, hey,
encouragement.
keep on going, because you are making
You're
a
making
difference.
a difference.
Yeah.
And just that one word.
Oh gosh,
In
I start
season.
crying. Yeah, I start crying when
That
he
one
said
word
that
in
to me. It
season.
was just like, wow, because it was like 2 years into Mother to Many. So, because even though the skate parks this December will be 5 years in Sumner. So
Okay.
even though we've been around, God took us that year and a half to just teach us and go to, I mean, we drove over 3,000 miles to want to understand homelessness.
Did you?
Oh, we were,
Oh
God
my
just
goodness.
take us from one place to another.
Really?
And then we'd volunteer. And
Yeah, we were all over the place.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. So what did that look like to you to understand the homeless? Did you actually go up and talk to them, or did you just kind of observe, or both?
Well,
or?
when we went to Bremerton
Okay.
had a street ministry, so Steve
Okay.
and I went out with them a few
Oh, you
times there.
did?
We went, we did the count for the homeless count when they do that once a year. We went, so
Okay.
we go down
Like the
and
census that
just
they
talk
do?
to people. And so when you started talking to them, they weren't so scary. Because, you know, a lot of
Just
us think
people.
these are dirty people. Usually, a lot of
Oh,
times they haven't
yeah.
taken showers, and you're afraid of them because they look scary.
Right, and this is
But
true.
you start talking to them, they're the nicest people. God just was changing our hearts, the way we were thinking. I mean,
Amazing.
it is nothing to go up and hug.
Amazing.
One of the kids, I don't care if they're not no shower, they need a hug. If they want to come up and give you a hug, because we don't push that on anybody.
No.
But sometimes they just want a hug. And just to know, hey, I matter, I'm important, and I'm not forgotten. And I always call those Jesus hugs.
They are
They're
Jesus hugs.
So, and just
They
to know
are.
that and
That's
even the
right.
bands that we hand out that say, I matter, I figured, you know, we're not
yes.
preaching, but they're
No.
getting Jesus put on them.
They are, yes,
And
they
I
are.
love them. I love those bands. Those
That's
are
a great
make
witness.
big
I
difference.
matter when they look at that,
Yes.
and to realize their self-worth, because I can
Yes.
imagine they probably feel, on top of their life being down and out, they probably really feel like they are at the end.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that nobody cares.
Exactly.
What a horrible feeling.
Yep.
What a horrible feeling.
Especially for our young people. They shouldn't. They should never feel that way.
No.
And
no.
so I know that, I think that's one thing I love too, is when they grab their food and they sit at the end of the table on the edges of the
Yeah.
the parking spots, and they talk and they laugh, and,
Oh, see?
and they can sit there and talk with us, and
Yeah.
they share.
Having a meal,
And that's,
picnic.
yes. It's
Oh,
all
my
about
goodness.
just communion and fellowship, and they're off their phones.
That's a miracle.
Yes. You know, it's amazing what God does.
Yes,
and
yes.
Stephen has built some really good relationships with
Have
some of the young men that come up and talk football or something.
Oh, they
with
do.
them. Yeah.
So you're just one of the guys. You just get in there and.
Yeah, and they after you build the relationships and they know you can trust them, or they can trust you. That
Right.
It's been really heart touching when you hear the stories about. Generally, society's told them that if they don't go to college, if they don't have an education, that they'll never succeed or make anything of themselves. And to try to get them beyond that point is, is really important.
It is.
Yeah.
To let them know that it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, that if you don't go to school, even if you don't have a GED, you if you start making right choices and you just try, things can happen for you.
That's good.
I've seen
That's
a
good.
number of young men that have actually picked up jobs and have moved from one job to another, and to see them feeling successful about themselves and that they have hope.
That's what our show's about, the Whispers of Hope,
Yeah.
and that's what it is. And I believe as one of the Lord's children, that we do wherever we're at, whatever we're involved in our life, that we can bring that ray of hope. And that's not preaching to people. That's just showing the love of God. And it's like,
So true.
Joann said, if she gives someone a hug, that's a Jesus hug. And that's probably maybe the only love of God that they have ever known, or maybe will ever know.
Yeah.
And that's the importance of it. There's healings in those hugs because, that's Christ in action. And I just
yeah.
pictured Jesus when he was on the earth, he fed people all the time.
Yeah.
He was always feeding people, and he was loving on people, and that's what it's about, you know. And so you have come out of probably the comforts of your lifestyle, 7 years ago when you got the call?
Yeah, so six years.
6 years.
This past July. So
Okay.
it was, 6 years.
And so did you give up anything to take
Yeah.
this call? Tell me about that, Joann.
Yeah,
Tell
so
me.
I worked at a bank. I
Okay.
worked for Home Street Bank. Had
Okay.
been there for over 3 years. And so when God gave me the call, thank goodness my boss, he was a Christian man.
Okay.
And so when God put this on my heart and said, this is what you're going to be doing, I told Rich. And Rich was very helpful in introducing me to people that worked with homeless. So they were a lot of my first interviews because of
beautiful.
Rich. And so then
Beautiful.
June came up, and I told Steve, I says, I really feel that God's wanting me to quit my job. And so just shared, I says, but I'm not doing it unless I get you to be on, it's okay with you.
Were you shocked about it, Steve?
Oh, I was retired.
Oh, you were retired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
I
it's
thought
probably okay.
I thought I was going in a different direction,
Oh.
and then you know, it was challenging. So
I'm sure. But you still felt, you knew that if this
in my
was
heart, I
something
knew it
given
was the
to your
right thing to do.
wife, that it was the right thing.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just
no,
wanted
no, yeah.
to get his opinion there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
Obviously.
yeah, so, yeah.
Okay.
So then quit my job,
Okay.
and that's when Mother to Many blossomed.
And so no
Yeah.
regrets,
No regrets.
no looking back.
No looking back.
And God has supplied every need
Yes, He
Every.
has.
in abundance.
Yes, He's been great.
That's
He's been
the
faithful.
part.
He's
That's
been
the part I love.
so faithful, so
So
faithful.
all your needs are met. So
Yes.
when you go out and you're taking your truck full of all these things, and I know it's more than food, you have
Yeah.
things for the homeless, you have soaps and shampoos and
Yeah.
different things like that. So
Blessing
if
bags.
someone were wanting to, say, put in a donation for anything like that, they could bring that right there to where
Yep,
you're
they
at
could bring
or
it
get a
to the
hold of you.
Skateparks, yep, or get a hold of me, email me,
Okay.
let me know, and I can
Okay.
possibly meet you. I prefer if people come to the Skateparks, only because we are busy going, and
Okay.
so sometimes it's kind of hard to meet people.
Okay.
But if most people have been coming to the Skateparks,
Okay.
so but
Okay.
yeah, but we
Because
can always arrange. We
that's
can always get
awesome.
something
Well,
arranged.
lot
plus,
of-
it's good for them to see where it's going to end up.
It
Yeah.
is.
You know.
It is. You're right, because being able to see exactly what's happening, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
it's pretty exciting. And I know we do have some pictures that we're going to be showing of what you do, and so that's kind of nice to let the audience really see firsthand what's going on. But so you took this call. So anybody sitting out there in the audience that they feel this little tug in their spirit that maybe God is speaking to them, I would just encourage you, pay attention to that and ask the Lord to open those doors, because He will. And you
Yes.
might be surprised at what He can do with little old you. You might be very surprised. I think of, you know, David and Goliath. Little David, he was a tiny little thing, I'm sure. He couldn't even wear the armor that I believe it was his uncle was trying to put on him. But he took that little stone, and as we know, the giant fell. And God can do big things with nobodies or people that feel like God can never use their life. You might be surprised. If you feel that call in your heart for something, you may say, well, I'm unimportant, I'm not significant. Well, God says you are important and you are significant.
Yes.
And so with today's show, I just want to give an extra special thank you to Joann. I want to thank you for being on our show. And Stephen, it's been a delight. I just am absolutely amazed at what you both do, and would love to possibly have you on the show again someday.
Thank you
if
for
you would
having us.
consider. And so with that, we'll close today. And if you out there would like more information on the Whispers of Hope show, or if you'd like to share your story on the program, please see the contact information at the end of this video. You can also follow us on Facebook, of course, and subscribe to our YouTube channels. I want to thank you again for joining us. Goodbye.